Good morning, all. Today we will start gear trains. So previous classes we have discussed about the types of gears and how we are going to measure the length of path of contact, length of arc of contact, contact ratio, and gear nomenclatures and all the things. So today we will go to the gear trains. Gear trains is a combination of two or more gears arranged to transmit power from driving shaft to driven shaft. For example, now it is the driving shaft, it is the driven shaft. How we are going to arrange the gears so that we are going to call it as the gear trains. Okay, so maybe we can use some other number of gears also. Totally, so between the driver and driven, how we are arranged the gears that we are going to call it as the gear trains. Okay, or we can call the gear train is more than two gears meshed between the driving and driven shaft is called the gear trains. So gear trains may consist of spar, bevel, or spiral gears. Okay. So gear train is generally we are going to define as the how we are arranged the gear between driver and driven shaft. So between the driver and driven shaft, maybe types of gears, types of gear trains. So one is simple gear train, second one is compound gear train, third one is the reverted gear train, and fourth one is epicyclic gear train. So first we will discuss about simple gear train. So this is a simple gear train. You can able to see the animation here. In this simple gear train, so this is the, for example, I will consider A is the driver, C is the driven. Okay, in between to transmit the power between A and C, so we are used here one intermediate gear, that is the B. It won't give any power, or it won't consume any power, but it will transmit the power from this gear to this gear. Okay, so now the simple gear train is the number of simple gear pairs in series. Okay, in series, if you have placed the number of gears, that we are going to call as the simple gear train. Okay, you can able to see this arrangement here. So this is the driver, this is the follower or driven. So in between, this is the intermediate gears. So arrangement, maybe two or three intermediate gears we can use. But in this condition, so this is the first shaft, this is the one shaft, this is the another shaft, this is the third shaft. Each shaft consists of only one gear. Okay, so now use of simple gear train. What is the use of simple gear train? So first is to increase the distance between the input and output shaft and still use small gears. Okay, so now you can see, observe here. This is the center of driver and this is the center of driver. Okay, so if in this condition, so it is very difficult to transmit the power from here to here without this intermediate gear. So for example, even without intermediate gear, we can transmit the power by two ways, either by using the belt or chain drive, otherwise by increasing the diameter of the C and A. Correct? By increasing the A and by increasing the C, we can transmit the power. Is it clear? Are you following?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So for example, if you are increase the size of A and size of C, what will happen? This size will get more like this, correct? The size will increases, so this will become this much of size and this will become this much of size. So means we required horizontal, this vertical distance also, correct? Here also it consumes the more space, right? So in that condition, we required positive drive. So to get the positive drive, we required positive drive means we can't use the belt drive or chain drive. One thing. So, and another thing is we don't have the sufficient space above and below this one and this C gears. In that condition, we are going to introduce the intermediate gears. Okay. So second one is to reverse the direction of output shaft. We know that, for example, these are the C, A is the input and C is the output. Okay. So whether if you required, for example, you required same direction, say this is rotating in clockwise, so it will drive the intermediate gear that will rotate in the counterclockwise. Again, that intermediate gear will drives the follower gear or driven gear, last gear. So that will rotate the clockwise direction. For example, if you want to reverse this one, so what we can do? So for example, if you want to get, we have the input gear rotating in clockwise direction. So we require output gear should be rotating counterclockwise direction. What we can do, there are two ways. So either this should directly mesh with the A. If it is meshed with the A, so you can able to see here A, this B is rotating in counterclockwise. Similarly, C also will rotate in counterclockwise. And if you are eliminated the B, otherwise, if you have the more space here between the driver and driven shaft is space is more. In that condition, we can introduce the one more gear, one more intermediate gear. Okay, if you are use the two intermediate gears, so what will happen? Driver will rotate in counterclockwise direction. Driven will first intermediate gear will rotate in counterclockwise. Again, second intermediate gear will rotate in clockwise because this first intermediate is rotating in counterclockwise. So then second intermediate will rotate in clockwise. Then follower will rotate in counterclockwise. So if you want to reverse the direction, we are going to use the simple gear drive. There are the two applications, or there are the in the two condition we are going to use the simple gear drive. The first condition, if the center distance between the two shafts is very high, if you want to reduce the space, if you want to increase the distance between the shaft, okay, there we are going to use the intermediate gears. Again, second one is to get the desired direction, either if you want to reverse or if you want to get the same direction. Depends on that, we are going to use the number of intermediate gears. By seeing this figure only, you can able to get the idea. If you have the only one intermediate gear, so the driver and driven will rotates in same direction. If it is two intermediate gears, what will happen? The driver is rotating in clockwise, first intermediate rotating counterclockwise, second intermediate will rotate in clockwise, then the follower will rotate in counterclockwise. Means if the number of intermediate gears are 2, the driver and driven will rotate in opposite direction. If it is intermediate is 1, so it will rotate in same direction. Okay. From this we can able to see if it is 3. All are following. So whether if still if you are wasting your time, so there is no use. All of you following?
Yes, sir.
If you are not interacting, I won't continue. You have the online internals only. Okay, I will discuss that later. So we'll continue. All of you are in the line.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Hmm. Okay, so this is about the simple gate run. Is it clear about simple gate run? Now, if for example, if it is the number of intermediate gates are 3, what will happen? If it is number of intermediate gears are 3, what will happen? Driver will rotate in clockwise. First intermediate gear will rotate in counterclockwise. Second will rotate in clockwise. third one will rotate in counterclockwise. Then follower will rotate in clockwise. Means driver and driven will rotate in same direction. So it means number of intermediate gears are odd number 1, 3, 5. So you are going to get the same direction, driver and driven. If it is number of intermediate gears are even number, so you are going to get driver and driven gears are in the opposite direction. Okay, this is about the simple gate train. The velocity ratio of this simple gate train we will discuss after studying the different types of gate trains. So next one is compound gate train. In compound gate train, one shaft with more than one gear means, see here, this is the compound gate train. This one shaft which is mounting the second and third gear. Okay, it will have the one shaft which is consist of more than one gear in the gear train, that we are going to call as the compound gear train. Generally, intermediate shaft have the two gears rigidly fixed to the shaft. Always when you are using the compound gear train, what we'll do, so driver in between driver and driven, which is the input intermediate gear shaft is there. So in that shaft, we are going to mount the two gears rigidly. So due to these two gears are mounted on the same shaft, that will give the same speed. See here, so you can observe the compound gear train. Here you can able to see this is the input gears. In this condition we have fixed the two gears here. Okay, so now just in this condition, the gear, smaller gear, it is the driver. This second gear is the intermediate gear. Again, this one is consist of the three gears on the three gears on the same shaft. Here, this will larger one receives the power and smaller will transmit the power. Okay. So you can able to see this in this figure. Okay. The second gear will receive the power from power from one. So it is more rigidly mounted on the shaft. When the gear one is drives the gear two, so gear two gets rotate. At the same time, shafts also start to rotate because both are mounted, rigidly mounted. When this shaft is rotate in the same direction and the same speed, gear 3 will rotates because gear 2 and 3 are mounted on the same shaft. At what speed gear 2 will rotate, at the same speed gear 3 will rotates. Okay, so that gear 3 will drives the gear 4. This concept we are going to call as the compound gear train. Is it clear? So this we are going to use it in the condition of when we require some high velocity ratio within the smaller distance. There we are going to use this compound gear train. When we are going to discuss about the velocity ratio, we will discuss that. Okay, na? So it is very simple. In the compound gear train, in intermediate shaft or any one shaft consists of two gears. Okay, in that two gears, one gear will receive the power and another gear will delivers the power. See here, why we are going to use that condition means, see, here driver is the larger. Okay, na? So driven is the smaller. What will happen? Whatever the speed is there of gear 1, so when it is transmitting to the gear 2, the speed will get increases because the diameter of the gear will as reduced, so speed will get increases. So that again, this 2 is mounted on the shaft. Again, that same shaft carries the third gear. So this third gear also rotate at high speed. For example, I will consider this is rotating in 100 RPM. When it is transmit the power to smaller gear, it may increases to 150 RPM, just for example. Okay. So again, this third gear also rotates in the same speed, 150 rpm. Okay, so now compared to gear 3, gear 4 is smaller. So gear 3 is larger and gear 4 is smaller. So this is 150. Again, it is transmitting to the smaller gear, means again it will get increases. Maybe 200 or 250. Depends on this sizes, the gear size ratio. Okay, just I'm taking the example. So now gear 1 is transmitted the power to gear 2. The speed becomes 100 to 150. Again, gear 3 also rotates in same speed, that is the 150. So that will transmit to the gear 4. That again it will reduce to the and sorry, increases to the 200. Means in the same distance, see this shaft one, driver and driven, distance between driver and driven is same. Instead of using one gear, I am using the we are using the two gears, means compound gear, so it will give the more velocity ratio. Okay, we can increase the we can reduce the or we can increase the more speed. So that is the reason of using the compound gear to achieve the more high velocity ratio within the specific distance or within the smaller distance. We are going to call as the we are going to use the compound gear. Is it clear?
So,
So next we'll move to the reverted gear drive. Another shaft. Just for example, I will take you the example. You have the watch, right? So in that watch, you have the three needles. One is second, one is the minute, and another one is the hour needle. Okay, all the gears will rotate in different. All the teeth will rotate in, needles will rotate in this different speed. But both the all the axis of the needles are same. How we can achieve that one? Are you following my example? In your watch, you have the second needle. Second
yes,
needle
yes.
will rotate 1 rpm, right? 1 revolution per minute. Minute needle will rotates 1 revolution per hour. Again, hour needle will rotates 1 revolution per 12 hours. Means different speed, but axis is same. In that, what will happen? See, one gear will rotate it with when one gear will mount it with the different gears, but both the driver and driven gears are in the same axis. See here is the driving gear. Okay, again it will transmit the power. Again it will transmit the power to this one, and this will come to the driven gear. This is one of the type of compound gear. This is the improvisation of compound gear. See, in compound gear, the driver and driven axis are here. We are going to, sorry, okay. Driver and driven axis are here. Just we are going to shift this driven axis to same as the driver axis. Okay, that is the reverted gear. Okay, here both driver and driven gears are in the same axis. Okay, but we are achieving the different speed, right? So just you consider the example. This is connected to the by using hollow type. So we are going to connect it the this for the minute needle. Okay, so this will rotate 1 revolution per minute per hour. So again it is connected to smaller gear. So what will happen? The speed will get increases. So again, this is connected to here. Both the speeds are same. Again, it is connected to the from larger to smaller one. Again, speed will get increases. You may, just for example, you may achieve 1 revolution per minute. So this is 1 revolution per hour. So we can increase the speed to 1 revolution per minute. So both the axes are in the same, both the shafts are in the same axis. We can use for this for the watch type of application. Is it clear?
Yes.
So reverted gear train consists of one or more compound gear trains
Sir, once again,
with the
please
input and
explain the vertical.
correct?
Once again, please explain the vertical.
Okay. Say this is the type of compound gear. Okay. Compound gear means what? It consists the one shaft consists of the two gears which are rigidly mounted. You keep in mind if you are mounting the two shafts in the same sorry, two gears in the same shaft. See, this is the shaft which is consist of this one and this one, smaller one and larger one gear. When the power receives from smaller gear, larger gear also rotates in same speed because both are mounted in the same shaft. Okay, so now in reverted gear train, it is similar to compound gear train, which consists of two gears in the same shaft, but driver and driven. Okay, driving and driven shaft both are in the same axis. Okay, both are in the same axis. That we are going to consider called as the reverted gear train. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes,
Both
sir.
driver and driver same axis. Okay, so this is one of the type of compound gear. Okay, in compound gear, one shaft is consist of two gears. It is here also we are going to use the same concept. Okay, na? So makes different from the compound gear train. Okay, so now next last type is epicyclic gear train. Okay, these are the figure you can able to see how we are going to use this gear trains. Okay, now what is the epicyclic gear train? Okay, these are the special types of gear in simple, compound, and reverted gear train. What you are studying in that case, axis of the shaft is fixed. Means shaft axis is fixed in the in particular axis only. The gears will rotate. But in epicyclic gear trains, the axis of the shafts are not fixed. Okay, the axis of the shafts are not fixed. That will rotates in the different what we can see according to the gears. So the shaft of the gears are also will move. Okay, there is the relative motion between gear axis also. I will show the video later. Okay, so the epicyclic gear trains may consist of simple gear train, compound gear trains are mixed of simple and compound gear trains. See here, it is the mixture of simple and compound gear train because this H will transmit the power to C. C and B are in the same shaft. Then it will C will transmit to the A. Okay, sorry, B will transmit to the A. H will transmit to the C. C and B are in the same shaft. The B will transmit to the A. Okay, like this. So it may consist of the compound gears also. It can get very high or low velocity ratio compared to simple and compound gear train. Even you can achieve very high velocity ratio or very low velocity ratio also. Okay, this about the epicyclic gear train. So you can, I will show, if you want, I will show the some video also. Are you able to see the how it will work? See, are you following?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So this axis of the blue color gear will also move according to the application. So when we are solving the problem, I will show the more gears. Okay, more videos I will show. Okay, this is about the epicyclic gear train. Okay, so now these are this type of gear trains. So how we can calculate the velocity ratio? Okay, so here in our subject we are going to kinematically what we can do in the gear trains. We can able to study the how what is the speed in input gear, what is the speed in the output gear, or we can decide the size of the gear according to the what is the speed you require. That is the thing we can do. Okay, by doing that, so very simple thing, so we need to find out the gear transmission. Okay, so gear transmission of, or we need to study the gear transmission of gear trains. Okay, so first we will start with the simple gear train. Okay, so what is the velocity ratio? Velocity ratio is speed of driving gear divided by speed of driven gear, means N1 divided by N2. Correct? We are used. We are even when we are in the when we are solving the problems also we are use this concept. Speed of driving gear divided by speed of driven gear. I told you in the starting by in previous classes. So when we are studying when we are considering the velocity ratio, we are going to use the concept of speed of driver divided by speed of driven gear. So what is the speed of drive? So we can write this for we can write this equation by using number of teeth on driven gear divided by number of teeth on driving gear. Correct? N1 divided by N2, that is equal to T2 divided by T1. Correct? Or D2 divided by D1. Have you remembered this equation?
Yes, sure.
Okay. So now, so for if you are consider this gear train, okay, so just we are going to consider this gear train. This is the first gear number 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, driving gear is the 1, again intermediate gear 1, and this is the another intermediate gear and driven gear. So for driving gear I will give the number 1. So first intermediate gear, that is the 2, and second intermediate gear, that is the 3, and driven gear is the 4. Similarly, number of teeth on the gears 1, 2, 3, 4, T1, T2, T3, T4. So I consider N1 is the speed of gear 1, N2 is the speed of gear 2, N3 is the speed of gear 4, and N4 is the speed of gear 4. Okay. Similarly, T1 is the number of teeth on gear 1, T2 is number of teeth on gear 2, T3 is number of gears on gear number of teeth on gear 3, T4 is. So now how we are going to find out the velocity ratio? Okay, so here we know that so gear 1 will transmit the power to gear 2. Okay, na? So how we are going to find out the velocity ratio? N1 divided by N2, that is equal to T2 by T1. Similarly, gear 2 will transmit the power to gear 3. How we are going to find out the velocity ratio for this one? N2 by N3 is equal to T3 by T2. Similarly, gear 3 will transmit the power to gear 4. So we are going to find out the velocity ratio using N3 divided by N4 is equal to T4 divided by T3. Okay. So now gear 1 is driving gear 2, driving gear 2, gear 3 are intermediate gear. So using that, see, N1 by N2 is equal to T2 by T1. N2 by N3 is equal to T3 by T2. N3 by N4 is equal to T4 by T3. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now to get the velocity ratio of entire gear train, what we'll do, we are going to multiply all these three. Okay, means N1 by N2 into N2 by N3 into N3 by N4. Okay, na? That is equal to T2 by T1 into T3 by T2 into T4 by T3. Okay, na? Okay, by multiplying we can obtain the velocity ratio of entire gear train. Okay, so now we know that N1 by N2, N2 by N3. This N2 gets cancelled, N3 then N3 denominator and numerator gets cancelled. So N1 by N4, that is equal to T2 by T1, T3 by T2. This is the numerator, this is the denominator, it will get cancelled. Again, this is the numerator and this is the denominator gets cancelled. So N1 by N4 is equal to T4 by T1. This is the velocity ratio of gear train. So simply we are going to write this velocity ratio of gear train is equal to, we are going to write speed of driver divided by speed of driven, means speed of driving gear divided by speed of driven gear, that is equal to number of teeth on driven gear divided by number of teeth on driving gear. Okay, na? So N1 means driver, speed of driver divided by speed of driven is equal to teeth on driven gear divided by teeth on driving gear. This is the velocity ratio. If you want to find the train value, just vice versa, we are going to use this equation. N4 by N1 means speed of driven divided by speed of driver, that is equal to number of teeth on driving gear means T1 divided by number of teeth on driven gears. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Any doubts?
No, sir.
Okay, so
No,
now
sir.
next one is the velocity ratio of compound gear. And next class we will continue the velocity ratio of compound gear train. Okay, so this is very simple in this concept. We are going to study about the speed ratio only. Okay, because we are not going to we are not bothered about the forces. Okay, only we are concentrating on the speed. Okay, here the speed is directly depends on the diameter of the gear, means number of teeth. Just we are going to study, or we are going to calculate what is the speed, what is the number of teeth. That's it. In kinematic parameter, we won't bother about this in a courses. Okay, so we are going to study about the what is the speed. For example, if you want to design the gear train, means just we are going to design how many number of teeth are required for to achieve the particular output or particular output speed. Okay, so that is we are going to calculate in the problems. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, all of you entered your lesson. Is there any doubts regarding gear trains and velocity ratio of simple gear train? Be interact in the class.
No, sir, no doubts.
Okay, okay. Then, so shall we close the class?
Sir, can you please explain path of recess once?
Sorry, I'm not able to hear you.
Sir, can you please explain that path of recess once?
Path of recess. Okay.
Sir, portions for first internals.
I will tell you tomorrow. Maybe I think what I'm planning is we can't give any objective question through in second module, right? Velocity and acceleration.
Yes,
So
sir.
I'm planning to give first and third module. Is it okay? First module
Okay,
and
sir.
third. First
Okay,
module
sir.
and third. Okay, first module and third module for the first entry. You may expect in third module, so there is no problems, right? In this, okay, we can do only theory there.
So we'll have only objective questions in the.
Yeah, all are MCQ question, multiple choice. Okay, so you required a length of path of length of arc of recess, length of arc of approach.
No, sir.
Which one? Someone asked the doubt.
Sir, that path of approach and path of recess, sir.
A path of approach. Okay, no problem. See, just it is very simple. This is the so this is the total K to L is the length of path of contact. Okay. So length of path of contact. So gear will start to, for example, when it is now it is rotating in counterclockwise. So this will rotating in clockwise. So the contact will start here. Okay, so then it will end at this point. From this to this one, K to L, we are going to call it as the length of path of contact totally. So this is the pitch point. Both the pitch circle will meet at the one point. That is called as the pitch point P. Okay. See here, this is the pitch circle of wheel. This is the pitch circle of pinion. So both the pitch circle will meet at this point. Okay. So this line is path will pass through this P. K to L is pass through the P. So when it start to engage from K, so when it reaches to the P, again from the P to L, it start to disengage. So that's only we are going to consider. K to P is the engaging point, P to L is the disengaging point. So when we are considering the length of path of approach, means when it is engaging, we are going to consider K to P is the length of path of approach. P to L is the length of path of recess. Means from P, it will start to disengage. That's only when we are calculating the sliding velocity at engaging, we are going to consider length of path of approach. Sliding velocity at disengaging, we are going to consider path of recess. Okay, so the length of Kp is called consider. We are going to call as the length of path of approach. Length of PL we are going to call as the length of path of recess. Is it clear? You want to know the
What is length of
how we are getting the
contact here?
equation?
Yes, sir, it is clear, sir.
Length of? Sorry? Okay. Charishma, something you are asked.
Yes, sir. So basically it's KP plus PL is length of path of contact. Okay, sir.
Contact, we are measuring on the pitch circle. See, if you want to measure the length of arc of contact, means from GPH. Okay, this one we are going to consider. So what we have done, instead of taking the arc, instead of taking the arc, so it is very difficult. So we are consider this straight line. Okay, so we are consider so length of path of contact divided by cos pi. That's it. Okay, now we are going to measure to see the teeth lines here. So this is the engaging point. This is the disengaging point. Okay, so this is the length of path of contact. So length of arc of contact means either it is GPH or EPF. Okay. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then shall we close today? For today we'll close. So tomorrow we'll go to the velocity ratio of different gear trains. Okay, so today we have discussed velocity ratio of simple gear train. Tomorrow we'll start with the velocity ratio of compound gear trains. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Okay. Bye. Take care.
Thank you, sir.